Wrestling fans, are you ready? For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, let's get ready to rumble!
And now, please welcome at this time your hosts, Graham GSM Matthews and RJ Marceau. You're listening to the next era of wrestling radio. This is WrestleRant Radio.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WrestleRant Radio here today for Thursday, March 19th, 2026. You see me on camera, just myself today, but that doesn't mean I'm flying solo. For the first time in 2 weeks, he is back from Florida. He is tanned. He is the man. Mr. Marceau, brother, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am doing well. Appreciate you joining us here en route to work today so we could chat about some world of wrestling, what's going on at the moment. I know you're pumped. We just had St. Patrick's Day. You're back from Florida, albeit a day later than you expected, but I'm glad you're back here with us on the Northeast. But we got March Madness going on, so I would be remiss if we started the show any other way than with me asking you, who is your pick for March Madness this year?
I love how you asked me because I haven't made my bracket yet. I've been falling behind. I was stuck in Florida an extra day. I think I have until like noon today to make my bracket. I think that's when the first game is.
Okay.
I'm not really dialed in on the college basketball. I know, I'm assuming, I think Duke's number one. I'll probably just go Chalk and Duke. I kind of like Kansas for basketball, so maybe I'll throw Kansas a bone. Georgia did make the tournament this year. They're not the greatest bouncy ball school, but maybe they could be a Cinderella this year. Who knows? But if I was putting a lot of money on the line, I'd probably just take Duke.
Okay. Hey, always go Duke. I think the Huskies still have a solid chance. I'm from Connecticut, but I mean, they did win a few years ago, so there's always money in the Huskies, I would say. But no Suns, right? I mean, they're not in it. That's an NBA team. But I'm not going Suns this year because I know they're not in it. Grant Matthews told me otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah, they're not in it, but hey, maybe they'll make the play-in tournament this year in the NBA.
Hey, you never know. Hopefully so. The Kings of the Bubble, that is. Appreciate you guys joining us here early on a Thursday morning. A bunch of stuff to get to, but just want to mention real quick, new episodes of the show available every single Thursday on WrestleRant.com, WrestleRantRadio.com, and all major podcast platforms. Shout out to the channel members Alexis, Miss Bond Matthews, Dylan Giacomo, Mrs. Renee, Daniel Malcolm at I'm Quarter on X, DJ Swerve1 at Swerve1 on IG, Mr. Marceau himself at RJ_Marceau on X, John Ritland, Real Honesty with John Ritland on YouTube, Richie Red Planet Wrestling on YouTube, and Average Grunt at gruntwrestling.bluesky.social on Blue Sky. More information on that down below. If you are watching live or after the fact, be sure to like the video and subscribe. All that support is greatly appreciated. Helps the videos. That being said, I want to throw to Fernando with a bunch of questions in the chat. We missed you last week here, Mr. Marceau, so we have a bunch of questions to kind of catch you up on. Some of these I will not mention right now because I will ask you about them in a little bit. But he said, Buenos Dias, WrestleRant. He said he was asking about Ronda Rousey. We will get into that. Some of these we'll get into, like I said, so I won't ask you right away. Asking about the crazy coffin match last night on Dynamite with Darby and Gabe Kidd. I haven't seen it yet, so I can't speak on that. Who was Randy talking to on the phone? We'll get to that later on. Revolution, where would I rank it among the other ones? I wouldn't say it's the best ever. I don't think it was as good as the one from 2 years ago with Sting's retirement, but it would probably be in the top three. Fernando did ask, RJ, how would you grade the Mania build so far?
It's a great question. I guess we're still a month out. I'd say so far, I don't know, B-, C+ so far. I mean, I think it's been decent for certain things. I mean, obviously we got some buildings and some new happenings over the last week. I mean, obviously Randy going heel and the Brock Oba stuff, and I feel like there's some other matches in the cards that we're kind of starting to build too. I think so far so good. I mean, I think the Punk Roman stuff's been really good. Obviously the Cody Randy stuff heated up this weekend. the Liv Stephanie stuff's been pretty good, and I mean they're still kind of working on Jade and Rhea. I mean, their Twitter beef, they didn't really had too many interactions. Besides the one on SmackDown, and it was like whatever. So no, I think overall, I mean, I think it's been pretty good. Obviously, with the report of Gunther supposed to face Rey Mysterio, who's now hurt. I mean, we always talk about the pivot. I don't know what they're planning on doing with him. I just I don't know. I feel like he has to be on the show at some. I mean. I saw someone, I think maybe it was a Solid Monster, mentioned just, hey, like somehow just get it, just to do him versus Ilya, just to have like a kick-ass match. At this point, you just got to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
Ilya's not really busy. He's trying to find his footing, and he kind of made a good thing. Like that's like his thing right now. He needs to find his old character or his old being, whatever. Hey, send him to Raw and just have him face Gunther. No real story, but they've had amazing matches before. Maybe you can just say like he thinks to get his confidence back, he has to go after Gunther. Who knows? But like, they have to be on the card. Gunther especially, like, he's had one of the best, probably the best year of his career, like, just, like, accolades-wise. And then not have him on Mania would be pretty crazy. I mean, even facing Rey Mysterio, I mean, unless he's retiring Rey, I don't really know why you do that match. But, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Rey match, to me on paper, feels like a Raw match. I mean, the only reason why it would make sense is because he was briefly feuding with Dragon Lee after he retired AJ Styles. That was a logical feud to do. They had that great match on Raw, I think 2 weeks ago. And then he hasn't been on Raw since, clearly because Rey got hurt. They don't have anything for Gunther in the meantime, so he hasn't been on Raw. It's not exactly the answer, but I could see why he has not been on Raw if that's the reason why. So that would have been the setup for the Rey match, because during that Dragon Lee match, during the finish, he unmasked Dragon Lee and then he tapped him out for the finish. So like disrespecting the Lucha Libre culture. It's not exactly a strong story. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that's something that overly excites me. And I like Rey, but it doesn't even really matter anyway, because Rey, if the day ends in a Y, is probably hurt. And it looks like he's hurt again, unfortunately. So if they're not doing that, I love the idea of him and Ilya, like you mentioned. I had seen Solid Monster say that. I agree with that. I had said on Twitter, I think a day or two ago, I mean, you talk about, we'll get to this now, there's so many people who are not currently set in stone for Mania matches that we'll kind of get into, including one person whose plans are in a complete state of flux that I know it has pissed you off as much as it has pissed me off. But what about Seth Rollins? That's not who the person I'm referring to. We'll get to that person later. But Rollins is also without a Mania match right now. It looked like on Monday he was going to face Brock at Mania. Thank the fuck God that will not happen. Instead, it will be Oba and Brock, which we'll get to in a couple minutes. But Rollins is free. I don't think Braun Breaker will be back in time. Bronson Reed clearly will not be back in time. What if you do Gunther and Rollins? That's a match we haven't seen since Gunther got to the main roster. I mean, there's no story there either, but it would get Rollins on the show. I would be okay if Rollins was not on the show. I know he's a massive star and whatnot. He probably shouldn't have been rushed back in the first place. But, I mean, at least that would get the two of them on the show if they're looking for a match for Rollins on the card.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my thing is he cleared to wrestle? I mean, I feel like he really hasn't done a ton. I mean, overall, like I said, I wouldn't hate it if he's not on the show. I just feel like there isn't like I said, I guess just to do him and Gunther, just to get Gunther on the card. But there really isn't like I said, a Breaker, I don't think somebody back. Bronson Reed's not going to be back. They basically, Theory and Paul are going after the tag belt, so that's not going to be them. So, I mean, like I said, if he's cleared and they need to get Gunther a match, and they can't do Gunther and Ilya, sure, but like I said, I don't overly love it.
No, I don't love that. I love Ilya and Gunther more. I would be completely okay if Rollins sat out this Mania, but it's completely possible. Nathaniel asked, would Rollins win at WrestleMania if he faces Gunther? First of all, he doesn't need to, and second of all, he might, but I hope not. You just had Gunther retire AJ Styles, Goldberg, and Cena in like a 6-month span. For him to lose to Rollins, he gains nothing, benefits nobody. I would hope not, but I could totally see Rollins winning that via like a fucking roll-up or something stupid like that.
Yeah, no, like you said, I think realistically, neither guy, like, in a sense, needs a win. They're both made men at this point, but for kind of like the trajectory, Gunther should be winning. I mean, he shouldn't lose for a while.
Yeah. Fernando asking, could we see Gunther and Rollins miss Mania this year? We absolutely could. I mean, Rollins, I feel like they see as a bigger priority. I don't think it makes much of a difference if Rollins misses the show. Gunther missing Mania would be egregious. I know Rey Mysterio got hurt, but he just retired Cena. How the fuck do you not have him on WrestleMania? I know there's certain people that set out Manias like Sami Zayn was not on WrestleMania last year. Gunther's a bigger star than that. He's been treated like a bigger star. He has to be at Mania in some form or fashion. And the roster is so stacked, you can figure something out with the roster we have. Even if he's facing fucking Penta for the Intercontinental Championship or something. I wouldn't do that because I don't want that belt back on Gunther right now. But that's a better option than not putting him on the show at all. But we have Rollins, Gunther. What about LA Knight? What do you think he's doing at Mania? Because obviously he's not facing Brock as originally reported or rumored anyway. Thankfully, that's not happening. But if he's not facing Brock or another member of the Vision, which also doesn't overly interest me, LA Knight feels like someone that could be in the Sami Zayn role from last year, where he also is not making the card for Mania 42.
I think they need a host of Mania, so I think he'd be pretty good at that.
So are you saying that the original host, like The Miz, I feel like has hosted Mania 5 times. He's probably only done it once or twice. But The Miz, there's a better chance The Miz may get on the card, Mr. Marceau, in this Jelly Roll tag team match than LA Knight, who might end up just cutting a promo or some shit.
Yeah, hey, it's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, pal.
We'll get to that Jelly Roll match in a moment. They teased that on SmackDown. But one last name that's, conspicuous by their absence on this WrestleMania card, and I saw Noob talking about it. Noob, I'll bring it up now. IYO SKY. The fuck are we doing with IYO SKY? I know you and I were texting about this, Mr. Marceau, the other day during Raw. I know she's like involved. She's like in a mini feud with Liv and Raquel on Raw right now, and we'll probably get IYO and Raquel. I don't know about a Mania. That's not a fucking Mania match. I'm sorry, it's not. That's a Raw match. And I like Raquel, and she's come a long way, but that's not, how do you put Raquel on the show but not Asuka? Asuka doesn't need to be at Mania, but IYO and Asuka has this built-in story, even though it's gone cold for a few months. That's more enticing, more appealing on paper than fucking IYO and Raquel, which feels like a pre-show match, and they don't do pre-show matches anymore. What's your take on IYO SKY and the fact they seemingly have nothing set in stone for her right now on the road to WrestleMania?
Yeah, no, it's definitely disappointing. When we discussed it a few weeks ago when Rhea was going after Jade, I used the analogy of you're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yep.
At this point, I feel like it's just playing out on television. Rhea's going after Jade, and she's going to be in the main event while IYO's running out in a random Raw match to break up Liv Morgan and be involved with Raquel. Like you said, is she going to... she's not going to get into the title match, so that's not going to happen. Seemingly, Asuka and Kairi seem like they're going to be doing the tag team gauntlet 17-team match at Mania. They teased that with Becky and Lyra, or Bayley and Lyra. I guess I did see the Bella Twins are facing Lash and Nia on SmackDown. I assume Alexa and Charlotte get involved, and then that makes like I said, a 17 tag team women gauntlet, battle royal, whatever the hell you want to call it, at Mania. So it seems like that's what they're kind of occupied with. But then what's that leave IYO? Like you said, it's going to be her versus Raquel. I know they're high on Raquel, and obviously IYO's great, but that's just not a Mania match. Just them two singles, nothing on the line. That's just not a Mania match. And Becky and AJ seem like they're going to head to Collision Course again. Julia, Tiffany, and Chelsea Green maybe. Seems like that might be the SmackDown US title match. So it doesn't really seem like besides Raquel, there isn't a clear dance partner for IYO, which is just crazy. The year that she had, I know they had to change plans obviously because Bianca got hurt, but to just leave IYO off the card, it just, like you said, does Asuka and Kairi have to be in this tag team match? No, there's a story there that you could tell if you were had creative instincts. They've been teasing this whole IYO and they feuded a few months ago, and Asuka was being mean to Kairi. She's still doing it, so you could kind of play on that, and IYO's sympathetic, so she still feels bad for Kairi, but Kairi's under Asuka's I don't know, say control, her control.
Yeah.
And then you face off the free Kairi, and then I don't know, that there's a story there, and the fact that who knows, I guess we still have a month left. I don't know. We don't really know, but at this point, there's no clear direction. Maybe next week on Raw, they face Bayley and Lyra and they lose, and Asuka beats the shit out of Kairi, and then we kind of plant the seeds and move on from there. It doesn't need a 2-month build. Like I said, I think there's a story in there, and sometimes the build can be too long. So maybe we're just being a little jumping the gun, but I mean, the fact that we're a month out and she still doesn't have a plan is a little concerning.
Yeah, no, I mean, I will say it's not impossible they do the match. Let me just make that clear because they do the same opening to Raw every fucking week with everyone walking into the arena. They show those shots. I think it was last week. I don't think it was this week. They showed Asuka and Kairi walking into the building, and Asuka was yelling at Kairi per usual. And you see IYO SKY in the background acting concerned and looking concerned watching them as she verbally abused Kairi Sane. So I think there's a pretty decent chance, maybe 50-50, they still do that match, and they set it up next week, like you said, or they start building towards it next week. My problem is, even if they do that, it's better than not doing the match. And I don't want to sound like I'm complaining about just anything, but they shouldn't be waiting until fucking 3 or 4 weeks out before Mania to start setting up this story. Like, we talked about this in January, and you weren't exactly sold on the match, understandably so, because the feud went cold. They've been doing it on and off since, like, the summer. And they really had done nothing to heat up that feud in recent months. They still haven't, and I think it's going to take a lot longer than a week or two to get people kind of invested in that story again. And at this point, you would think it's more so Asuka versus Kairi. And I don't even think Kairi needs to be in the match. I don't think it needs to be a triple threat. If it is, cool, whatever. I think it'd be better off as IYO and Asuka one-on-one. There's plenty of other multi-person matches we're getting at the show, including that tag team title match you mentioned. I don't think that has to be one of them. So hopefully they make that clear in the coming weeks on Raw, because IYO absolutely belongs at WrestleMania. To not put her on this card would be booking malpractice. I want to ask you about this, or actually before I get to the next thing, I mentioned it earlier, we'll get to it now. Speaking of Mania matches, Mr. Marceau, we saw it on SmackDown last week. They seemingly set up The Miz versus Jelly Roll for WrestleMania. Now, I don't think it's going to be a one-on-one match. It's probably going to be another Jelly Roll tag team match with The Miz and maybe Kit Wilson versus Jelly Roll, and I thought Danhausen, and they still could go in that direction based on the Miz and Danhausen interactions recently backstage on SmackDown. But it looks like, reportedly, it might be Royce Keys. Now, that sounds incredibly random, but they're doing that apparently because they have a shared back history or backstory of, like, a tough upbringing and family struggles. I know you would know from the podcast that Royce Keys did with Stephanie that I still have yet to listen to, but I heard you told me it was great. I know that match doesn't necessarily interest you, but what are your thoughts on that match happening at WrestleMania?
I mean, if it gets Royce Keys involved, I'll take it. Like you said, it's not the greatest match of all time. It does have the Jelly Roll outside of wrestling interest, I guess. I mean, obviously his match with Logan and Drew last year and Randy at SummerSlam was kind of like, I think we kind of like poo-pooed it, and it was a lot better than we anticipated. So yeah. I don't love it, but like I said, I guess if it gets Royce Keys involved and then kind of like that kind of jolts his main roster push, I'll be optimistic at the time, but I overly don't love it. Like you said, if that's going to be on Mania, but IYO SKY's not, that's a problem to me.
Yeah, no, that's an issue, especially not even Jelly Roll, but even like The Miz. I mean, is The Miz, he has value in spots like that, helping elevate celebrities and stuff, but don't love that. And I mean, I did see the comparison, and I was already thinking the same thing. 5 years ago, we had Bad Bunny on the show, and that wasn't really something I gave a shit about. And we had Damian Priest in that match with him, and it ended up going really well. The Jelly Roll match, we had just talked about, you had mentioned from SummerSlam last year, that went really well as well. So we'll see. Not exactly something I would waste a match spot on, especially with the roster being as stacked as it is. If we get Jelly Roll on the card again after already seeing him at SummerSlam, and I thought he did well, but not like the United States Championship or Dragunov or any of these other people like an LA Knight, again, that doesn't really sit well with me. But hopefully they can figure their shit out and everyone gets on the card, or at least most of these people get on the card in some form or fashion. Unrelated to WrestleMania, but I would be remiss if I did not mention this, Mr. Marceau. And this happened after I recorded last week, so I didn't even get a chance to talk about it, really. That I talked about it on Tuesday's hashtag. What were your thoughts on what you saw from the OVW Dallas Edwards incident with the referee and that whole shit show? And they've since come out with statements trying to, talk about it and all this other stuff. It still looks like an absolute mess. He's not blaming anyone. I don't know if he's, suing, but he probably should. The way that whole thing was handled, with him having a seizure in the middle of the ring and no one doing anything until 60 seconds later, is pretty embarrassing for the industry or for that company and the industry as a whole.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not good. I saw the video, I believe it was on Friday, I saw the video, and it's just sad to see what OVW's become. Obviously, they had the documentary a few years back on Netflix, Al Snow, and they're kind of partners, we got to revive OVW. It's still one of the only weekly televised companies, even though obviously a small regional promotion. And then it seemed like after that, kind of, I don't know if they did. They didn't really tell you if they did well or not. From the houses, I don't think they really did, but they didn't really. They kind of glossed over that stuff. But
Yeah.
I mean, in the last few months, they sold the company to like some kind of company in the UK, and honestly, I didn't even know they were still. I thought they kind of thought they were taking a break to kind of revamp it and make it a little bit better. But then I saw this video the other day, and I was like, holy shit, this is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just. I mean, I saw the budget they're running on. Unless like the monitors went out like they did in the show like 1,000 times, there's just no excuse for this. Like, the guy was clearly seizing up, and they just like kind of like pushed him to the side and like moved on.
Got to get
I
your
mean,
shit
it was no
in.
different than I'm trying to think who it was. Someone in AEW also. I think it was a couple of years back.
Oh,
Who was the one that got like knocked down in the middle of the match?
Yeah, the Dark Order spot. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and they just kind of like dragged him out of the way. Like that's like it was that. Obviously, a siege was way worse than that, but like I said, no defending it. I know they'll try and be like, oh, you know, like whatever, but it just doesn't look great on the industry in a whole. And it just, like I said, the low rent, like things like that, I feel like just give all the big time stuff just like a blemish, especially in like the wrestling business.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. I mean, this would be 10 times worse had it happened on national television, but this will probably be forgotten about pretty soon because it happened on a lower level indie mud show, so to speak. So, but yeah, no, it's a blemish on the business for sure, the way that it was handled. The fact this sort of shit is still happening between this and the Rajah Jackson shit from last year, not exactly a great year for the world of wrestling and the kind of the mainstream headlines that have stemmed from it, from incidents like this, because it's completely avoidable, and hopefully it's avoided in the future. But when I saw OVW, when I saw that it happened at OVW, just after watching that documentary and some of the other outlaw shit that have come from that company in the last few years and how far they've fallen from the days of being like the WWE developmental system, I was not surprised in the slightest. But yeah, an embarrassing situation. Hope the guy heals up and he ends up making a full recovery at some point. I know he's like, okay, he's not like dead or anything. He's not paralyzed. People are worried about that. He had a brain injury, he said. He's taking some time to himself, but hopefully he'll be he'll be completely okay in the end. Want to go back to WrestleMania, Mr. Marceau, and just kind of jump around here with some various topics for you before I let you go in a little bit. But Randy Orton on SmackDown, turning heel on Cody Rhodes. I mean, kind of came out of nowhere because he just like became number one contender, and they just had Cody Rhodes win the belt on SmackDown a week ago, which I know you and I discussed in person. We didn't discuss it last week because you weren't here. But kind of what have your thoughts been on the developments in the WWE title front? Does this make the match more interesting to you? And did the heel turn feel abrupt? And what were your thoughts on the execution of it on SmackDown last week?
Yeah, I mean, I think when Cody won, it was just like, okay, now he's facing Randy because Randy had already won the Elimination Chamber. They're both baby faces. People are like so set on Cody becoming heel, and for me, honestly, does not move the needle at all at this point. I mean, it could be great, but I just also feel like that I guess even babyface Cody could still be in the main events, but like now we're definitely going to get more main event Cody. So I feel like Randy going heel, it's like they've been teasing him so long.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like it needed to happen, and it happened on SmackDown. Like I said, it kind of was abrupt. It was kind of random, but honestly, we need heel Randy Orton. Hopefully this leads to them beating Cody at Mania, and we get like a nice heel Randy run. Maybe he can punt Cody's head off, and maybe Cody can take like 6 months off. So, so the Cody fatigue lays off a little bit. But no, I think it's great. I mean, the problem is Randy's so over, even as a heel. People like were cheering him, like beating the shit out of Cody. I mean, it just is what it is. I know people are like, well, why would they let Randy do that? I'm like, he's Randy fucking Orton. Mm-hmm. It's no different than like. I mean, I don't remember. Did they boo Cena when he fucking beat up Cody? I don't even remember at Elimination Chamber. I don't think it was like an overly booing. I think more people were excited to see Cena turn heel.
Yeah.
I just feel like, I don't know, Randy was such a beloved figure in the WWE universe that like him beating up Cody was like a good thing. Like people loved him beating up Cody, and I liked it, even though obviously he's now supposed to be a heel. But he's just one of those guys that just, even when he's a heel, he's just a cool heel, and he's just, I mean, especially with his like newer physique and persona, he's just such a badass. It's not even funny.
No, and it's also been so long since we've gotten heel Orton. There's like a sense of freshness to it too. So, and it's not even just the fact that Orton's fucking cool, like you said. It's in addition to the fact that you already kind of touched upon it, the Cody fatigue. Now, I'm not sitting here one of those people, and I know you're not either because you just talked about this, but I'm not sitting here saying, well, they should have turned Cody instead. I sat here last week and said, I don't think that would be the right idea right now. At some point, I would do that. I think you'd make for a great heel if they went about it the right way. Now is not that right time. People don't really think fourth dimensionally and realize, you know what? If we turn Cody Rhodes heel right now, we don't really have anyone to replace him as the top babyface. Orton is not the answer. Fatu could, I don't know, he's not the guy, but, he could be a top babyface for them. Femi's on the up. He's on the up and coming. He's rising up in the ranks, but he's not there yet. They don't really have someone like that, and you don't have Punk's too old, LA Knight's too old, Roman Reigns is part-time. You don't have that guy, so you can't turn Cody Rhodes heel. Orton, I think turning heel makes for a fresher story, in my opinion. I thought the angle was great. It will be tough for fans to boo him, but the Cody fatigue is also going to be a factor because, like you said, people already are tired of seeing Cody. Even before Orton turned fucking heel last week, dude, and beat the shit out of Cody, Cody was already kind of getting booed. Not unanimously, but when he came out, there were absolutely audible boos for his entrance. So it's something they have to be careful with going forward for sure on SmackDown. But that being said, though, we saw Orton on Raw this week in a vignette doing an interview, quote-unquote, with Michael Cole. Not really much of an interview, but they did tease that Orton was on the phone with someone, and that whoever that person was on the phone kind of motivated Orton to become the Orton of old again. Now, we have another fucking mystery angle. What were your thoughts on what we saw on Monday, and who do you think Orton was on the phone with on Raw?
No, I thought it was a good, like you said, it was like kind of more like like I said, it wasn't an interview, but it was like more like I don't even know how you describe it. But no, I mean, like I said, I think using Raw to kind of like continue to build, I think it's good. Obviously, I feel like most people watching SmackDown are watching Raw, and with a month left, I feel like it's good to use both outlets to kind of like get it across, even if it's like a backstage or pre-tape. But
yeah,
no, I thought it was good. Who's on the phone with Randy? Your guess is better than mine, brother. I got no idea.
I mean, I hate to even put this out there, and I said this on Tuesday, but dare it be Ric Flair? I mean, I have a very bad feeling it might be Ric Flair.
Why would it be Ric Flair?
Because of his history in Evolution. I mean, they've been tied together for most of Orton's career from Evolution. They've had a bunch of feuds and interactions since then. And I don't know, I could just see them trying to, him being the dirtiest player in the game. And because Orton talked about on the phone, oh, you reminded me who I can be and who I used to be and who I can be, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that would be, I don't want to say it does make sense. I think that'd be fucking awful. Because from a storyline standpoint, it would make sense. But Flair is so old and so out of it. Like, his AEW run sucked. Anything he's done in WWE for the last 5 years has sucked. I have no interest in seeing that. I mean, it wouldn't be Ted DiBiase. He's about to be behind bars, so unless he gets that one phone call, I don't think it's going to be him. I'm not really sure who else it would be. Maybe I've seen people say his dad. I mean, people I had seen say Aleister Black, but like, I don't know. I mean, that would be... Aleister Black's doing the Karrion Kross thing where, like, he's inspiring darkness in his competitors and shit, or in his rivals. But, like, Orton said on the phone, oh, yeah, it was so great to see you a couple weeks ago. He sees Aleister Black on SmackDown backstage every fucking week. So, I mean, that wouldn't make sense either. I don't know. Bully Ray said it should be, like, fucking Charlotte Flair or some dumb shit. I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't know. I don't know if there's any option here that would make sense that would be worth it, but, I don't know. You don't even have the wildest guess that comes to mind?
I don't know. I feel like all the guesses you just made were seemingly wild. I mean, his father's probably the most tame one, but like you said, that would just kind of be random. Like I said, the worst part is like knowing that it's going to like turn out to be nothing, and they're just not going to even acknowledge that happened. But I honestly have no fucking clue, dude.
If it ends up being someone that I mentioned, I'll complain about it here when we come back and they reveal it. Maybe they won't reveal it, like you said. Maybe it ends up being nothing, but they filmed that fucking interview on like a potato or something. The quality was terrible. And I thought it was a good segment, though, and it does create some intrigue.
What did you think when you saw it was when Bayley and Lyra and Asuka and Kyra did their little thing and the Vision were talking to Maxine Dupre?
Oh, my God. I regret you even bringing that up because...
Oh, sorry. Never mind. Didn't happen.
I mean, I was trying to forget about that, but, like, surely... Listen, I like Maxine. That would be terrible. I mean... That would be awful. I have sub-zero interest in seeing Maxine fucking Dupre. Hopefully that was just like a tease. Like Jade joining... They had teased Jade joining BFAB and making her a baddie or something. I like that. I like that idea. Maxine Dupre and the Vision, that sounds fucking terrible. I'm sorry. What were your thoughts?
No, I mean, they put it there for us to see it. I mean, she is pretty directionless now. I feel like, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of hers. I think she's like okay at best. I mean, maybe she's a really nice person, but her in ring to me like hasn't really got much better. I feel like they like try to tell you it got a lot better, but I mean, she also was in the ring with Becky Lynch, who's like one of the best workers in the company. So like,
Yeah.
I feel like that was more a little Becky shine on her. I mean, her Natalia matches, that one that was like a fucking 2-second knockout was whatever, and then she just lost to her on Raw like in a few minutes. So it wasn't like that was like any barn burner as well. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I just like I think they see something in her. I don't clearly see it. I don't have my glasses on currently, so maybe I need to put my glasses on. I can see it a little bit better. But I don't know. I think there's probably like 10 other women on the roster I think you could put in that spot and probably get more out of. I know she's attractive and they probably see like more of a star quality in her, but her in ring alone, I don't think it's ever gonna get to a certain point.
No, I completely agree. I don't think it'll ever be at that point to where it would make sense to put her in a group like that. I mean, the group itself should die. I mean, we've been over this before, but there's no real value at this point, in my opinion, in the division. Even if Braun Breaker were to come back, I would just blow up the whole fucking thing and have Theory go babyface. I mean, what a concept, but it's not going to happen. As we wind down here with you, Mr. Marceau, I do want to ask you this about Ronda Rousey at Revolution. I like the show overall, but her popping up was one of the bigger talking points from that show because it was completely out of nowhere. Her showing up and aligning with Marina Shafir, who she has history with. In a nutshell, what were your thoughts? Does AEW have anything to gain from bringing in Ronda Rousey?
I mean, I think you have headlines to pull with Ronda. I think Ronda, obviously, right now, she's probably, since leaving WWE, she's clearly probably at her biggest relevancy now. Obviously, she's going to go do the Gina Carano fight in a couple months. So she's kind of been in the headlines lately for especially MMA. I don't know if she was on Dynamite last night. I didn't see it.
Mm-hmm.
I know Tony Khan mentioned like, oh, we'd love to have Ronda come in. I mean, the same fans that shit on Ronda in WWE, they'd be lapping it up if she was in AEW. So who knows? I mean, I don't think, like you said, I think maybe just like the headlines of her being involved right now. I don't think they probably won't have her wrestle just because I just don't think that'll happen. But who knows? Maybe they will. But she's also on like I hate at UFC, I guess TKO and WWE. They're the same company, so I feel like that's a more of a hey, I'm gonna go to this company to give them headlines instead of you because she's so anti-UFC right now. But I don't know. I just it was interesting. I saw it. I was like, wow, my first thought was she's on the anti-UFC train, so she's which is anti-TKO, which is WWE, so she's just gonna go do that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm never been a big Ronda guy to begin with. I feel like her I don't know, her stance right now has been just kind of annoying to me. Like I get it, like you don't love the UFC, but like they like also made you famous. Like without the UFC, you wouldn't be who you are now. So I mean, I get it. Like she wanted more money, and like they probably could. The problem is like MMA specifically. I guess UFC is like the biggest company, so that's kind of what you look at. Like obviously, like compared to boxing and stuff. Like I don't know how like the gates and stuff like that work, but like some reason boxers get paid like a significantly more money. I don't know if they're not really like a league, I guess is the best way I think to describe it. Like UFC is obviously like a sport league at the end of the day. Like so like there's contracts and da da da. So I just feel like they take more of a cut, I guess, and then boxing like that's like why like Jake Paul and all those guys like they do more boxing because like seems like there's just way more money involved.
Mm-hmm.
But like obviously with Jake Paul and whatever that salesman sleazebag he works with, I can't even think of the guy's name. So obviously they're gonna do the MMA thing. And obviously Ronda and Gina, like Francis and Diaz and Perry, they'll make good money. Like they're gonna make crazy money. But like, I don't know, it's just like how sustainable is that? I think it's more of a one-off, and they're like using this as like, oh, UFC sucks, da 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 da. And
Yeah.
obviously UFC's had some issues. I mean, since they've been bought out by TKO, it's just they haven't really had like a real identity. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I mean, you kind of mentioned it there, but like we talked a little bit about it before we hit record here, but your thoughts on everyone seemingly shaking ass for this card, not only for Rousey and Carano, which will probably end up being not great, but maybe it will be, who knows. But you got the Diaz fight on there as well. I see a lot of people shaking ass for this card now. Do you think it ends up living up to the hype, or is it will just be one giant disappointment?
don't think it'll be a disappointment. I think obviously, like you said, the Diaz and Perry fight, like they're two they're like two hardcore MMA fan like legends, basically. Like they're guys that are gonna go out there and like fight and go for a knockout. Like they're just like they're not the like greatest technical fighters all the time, but like you're probably like I would bet my life savings they're gonna have an entertaining fight. I guess the best way to put it. I don't think it's gonna be like a snooze fest. They're both kind of over the hill at this point. I mean, I think Diaz got to be close to 40. Mike Perry's, I know he's kind of had a resurgence in bare knuckle fighting, but his MMA career kind of fallen off. So I think this is more of like to get the hardcore fans. Obviously, Gina and Ronda's like the name, but they're both kind of past their prime. Francis obviously is great, but then he left the UFC to go to PFL. He boxed. Now he's doing this. He's fighting a guy that's kind of like just not. He's average at best. So. We'll see. Like I said, I think they're kind of like Ronda's like, oh, this is better than the White House card, and UFC sucks, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, I know the UFC card, the White House card isn't like what they kind of anticipated. Like they kind of like made it seem like something the greatest thing ever. Just using your brain as a human adult, you realize what they're telling you is just not possible. Like Trump was telling us there's gonna be like 6 title fights, and like that's just not possible. They have a pay-per-view every month. There's only like 8 weight classes. How are you going to have 6 title fights? And you have nothing for the rest of the season. You would have no fights for the rest of the year then. Yeah. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So, like, okay. And, like, I don't know. I think they're not, like, I think the fights at the White House card are good. I like Gaethje and Topuria. I really like Gane versus Pereira. I think Gane Pereira alone is, that's the fight out of this year so far that I really want to see compared to UFC, this league here. So like, I mean, that's what I'm looking forward to the most. I think that alone is better than the 3 fights they're giving us here. But I mean, they haven't filled out their card yet, so I expect probably some more free agent old UFC guys or girls just kind of going to collect a paycheck. But I mean, like I said, I think it's on Netflix, so I'll get a lot of watches. And in a sense, I feel like I can't feel because people are going to watch. It's one of those things people will watch because it's on Netflix and everyone has Netflix. And it's just like a curiosity thing. Oh, and it's free in a sense. So you're like, oh, might as well just throw it on. Unless, like you said, unless it's just somehow like every fight's just a snooze fest and it just sucks, then I don't see it failing.
Well, I'll say this. I mean, if you end up watching it, I will be right there with you. If you make the decision to watch this show, if it's good enough for you and you're worried, you're interested in just checking it out to see the car crash potentially, or if it ends up being entertaining, I will be right beside you on that couch watching that fucking show. Alexis even said to me the other day she wants to watch more UFC after we watched it with you a couple of weeks ago at your place. So I'm just throwing that out there right now. Is it in May? Is that when it is?
May 14th it is.
May 14th. Well, like I said, if you watch it, let me know. I might have to make the trip up to come watch it with you because I don't know how this is going to go. You know more than I do, and I think just to see your reactions, it would be worth it.
Sounds good.
All right, brother. I'm going to let you go. I'm about to talk about Raw after after you take off here. But you like the Oba Brock thing from Monday?
I do.
It was great. I just wanted to get your thoughts before I let you go because I know you really liked it. We were texting about it, and I'll talk more about it here in a minute. But all right, brother. Enjoy Hoppers when you see in the next couple of days. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, I'll talk to you, man.
All right, see you, Chief. Bye.
See you.
All right, so in the remainder here, I do want to talk about Raw from Monday. I see your questions there in the chat, guys. Appreciate all the comments and questions and all that other great stuff. I'll just go through those real quick before we get to Raw, actually. We'll get Mr. Marceau back on here next week with some more time, so if you have any questions for him, be sure to save them for next week. But you guys were talking about what if Becky wins the IC title at WrestleMania? She probably will. I think Becky will take the belt back at WrestleMania. Which women's match and main event one of the nights? Fernando asked, Jade versus Rhea or Liv versus Stephanie? Honestly, of the two, I mean, Jade and Rhea is a bigger box office matchup, but Liv and Stephanie has been better built. Not by much, but like the vignettes for Liv and Stephanie and what they've done with that story, if you can call it that, I think are definitely better than what they've done with Jade and Rhea so far. I haven't really been a fan of the I'm that bitch. It's not bad, but it's very basic storytelling, so I don't think either match will headline. Now that we know Cody and Randy is definitely happening at WrestleMania, that match is headlining night one, no doubt, for the WWE Championship. If I had to choose, though, I would go Liv and Stephanie. What about IYO SKY being added to Liv and Stephanie and make it a triple threat? I know we talked about this, I think, on Tuesday. I would not do that. I just think that'd be incredibly fucking random. I know she's been involved in the story the last few weeks, but I mean, we already saw IYO in a triple threat at Mania last year for that exact same championship. Liv won the Rumble. I mean, I know we've had Rumble winners be in triple threats before at Mania. You know, at Mania 24, Mania fucking... I mean, it wasn't a Rumble winner, but last year IYO was in a triple threat with the Chamber winner and Bianca. Rhea, Bianca, and IYO. They did that at WrestleMania 30. They did it at WrestleMania 37. They've done it a whole bunch of times. WrestleMania 20, I think, as well. I would not do that. I want IYO on the show, but I would not... I mean, I don't know. It would make the match better, I guess, but it just kind of feels random. Interest in a Dom and Penta IC title versus hair match at Mania? I think... I mean, listen, I know what Dom said recently. I would not do that. We've seen Dom and Penta so many fucking times. The match would be good, and it's nice to have stakes, and it would get Penta on the show, but I don't really want that match at Mania. I mean, Penta doesn't have an obvious opponent, but Dom should absolutely be facing Finn Balor. And to add Finn Balor to that match to make it a triple threat or a four-way, we literally just saw that shit last year. We saw Breakker defend against Dom, Finn, and Penta in the same match. So I wouldn't do that either. So no, and honestly, I would save the Dom hair match for when he faces Rey at some point in Mexico. I don't think you should do it at Mania, because we know fucking Penta's not losing. Penta, there is no chance. I mean, you probably know Rey's not going to lose either, but there's a better chance of Rey unmasking in his retirement match than Penta unmasking at WrestleMania. Fernando also asking RJ, how excited are we to see R-Truth win the tag titles at Mania? I don't even know if that match happens at Mania. Damian Priest and R-Truth challenging the Wyatt, not the Wyatt Six, but the MFTs for the tag titles sounds like SmackDown before Mania shit. That is not a fucking Mania match, and I'm not excited for that at all, and I'm sure Mr. Marceau shares those same sentiments. Would it be a bad look if Stephanie is if she's the main inductee in the Hall of Fame? It wouldn't be a bad look, but it would just be boring. I mean, even Triple H's speech last year I thought was overall good, but it went on for fucking too long. A la a Triple H promo from like the Ruthless Aggression era. Stephanie's not an interesting enough inductee, and it's not like you don't have other inductees that couldn't go on after her. I mean, I know Demolition won't close, but you have AJ fucking Styles, who's obviously a much bigger star and far more successful. I mean, Stephanie is who she is, but I would close out with AJ. Should Jacob beat Drew at WrestleMania? Yes, he should. I know Drew's in a bad way at the moment. He lost the WWE title after 2 months. He can never really see when it matters. He can never really win when it matters most. I mean, he won at WrestleMania last year, to be fair. Drew's Mania record is not that bad. I mean, let's look at his Mania matches in recent years. He beat Damian Priest last year. He won the World Heavyweight Championship from Rollins 2 years ago. Granted, he got cashed in on immediately afterward. But still, I mean, he was on that show, and he won the world title before getting cashed in on. He did not win at 39, that IC Championship match, but he did beat Baron Corbin at WrestleMania 38. He lost to Bobby at 37, and he won the WWE title at 36, and he lost to Roman at 35. But he's won a handful of times in recent years. He doesn't need to win at Mania. Jacob needs it more. I would have Jacob win. And we already talked about this on Tuesday. I think Uncle Howdy being on the phone with Orton, since he's got history with Bray Wyatt, I don't really care about that. I mean, they're still feuding with the MFTs for some godforsaken reason. Why would they also be doing a story with the the Wyatt Six and Orton? And they're not turning the Wyatt Six heel, I don't think. So I don't think it's Uncle Howdy. I don't really care to see that personally. Ronda and Mercedes for the Women's Championship, Nathaniel said. I'd be fine with that. I would probably be more okay with that than Tony and Ronda. Would Ronda really be down for the Tony Storm, like, timeless shit? Like, I don't think she would be. So Ronda and Mercedes would be more of a straightforward feud or match. We've seen it before, but it would be a nice excuse for Mercedes to get her win back. Ronda's not coming in and losing to literally everyone on the roster. She might actually win more matches than she loses. And she ain't losing to Tony, and she ain't losing to Mercedes. If it was up to me, I'd have her lose to Tony. But you can have her lose to Mercedes because Ronda beat her at the Rumble all those years ago, so you can have Mercedes avenge that loss. Nathaniel also asked, how would I feel about CNC versus FTR being made official at Dynasty? I would be fine with that. I mean, I said that on Tuesday, but CNC are from Canada. I think the show's in Canada. I think that's not only where you do the match, but you put the belts on CNC, because it's going to happen eventually. Might as well just do it now. Give me backshot Solomonster. What's going on, brother? Said Gunther's opponent should be Javon. Have Javon try to avenge his childhood heroes. I'd rather have Javon lose to Gunther than losing a multi-man IC title match. I'd be fine with that too. I'd be totally okay with Gunther and Javon. Whatever Gunther does at Mania, let's just face it, is not going to fucking make sense. Even if they did the Ilya match, I mean, that makes more sense than any other match because they have history. But, I mean, if they were to do that match, it would have to come out of nowhere. If he faces Javon, it would have to come out of nowhere. I mean, granted, they do have history. Javon's first match on Raw, I believe, was with Gunther back in November, and he lost. And I like the story that you're trying to tell there. Gunther and even LA Knight or Rollins, those are random matches, but I mean, they would also kind of have to come out of nowhere. So whatever Gunther does at Mania, and he should be on the fucking show, is going to come out of nowhere. But I like that idea just as much as the other ones. At least, I mean, that would make more sense than Gunther and Rollins. Is Rollins really going to come out on behalf of John Cena? I mean, that would just be stupid. I mean, he's out there to kill the Vision, but he's out there going to defend Cena's honor. That would just be dumb. Nathaniel said, I hope Becky moves on from the IC title after she wins it at WrestleMania and loses it again. I agree. After she loses it for the third time, she should move on. Should Punk turn heel at Mania? Should he? I mean, he doesn't necessarily have to. I think that would be interesting if he did. He's already coming across like a baby/asshole, probably arguably more than Roman Reigns, which is pretty wild to me, considering how much of a dick the Roman Reigns character is in 2026. But I've said that before. If you really want a nice hook, I don't think Punk retains and the show's over. I think Reigns is probably getting the belt back, but if he doesn't, you need an extra hook. I mean, you don't need it, but I think they might want that. And, yeah, it might be Punk turning heel. So, definitely possible. Give me Backshot Solomonster said, we agree MFT's Wyatt's feud is easily the worst feud in the Paul Levesque era, right? I mean, it's got to be there's been some bad feuds. I mean, some feuds that just never fucking ended. Especially in recent months. There's been a lot of shit that, like, went on forever. Like the Aleister Black, Damian Priest feud. I don't think it was bad. I think it was decent. That was better than the MFTs and the Wyatts, which has been a complete, not waste of time. I was fine with it at first because it kept them busy. But that was like 4 months ago. It's fucking March, and they're still doing it. It's clear. It would be funny if they waited until Mania to blow it off, but they're not even on Mania. They're like on the SmackDown before Mania, which is probably what's going to happen. Maybe they just want the Wyatt Six to get that Mania match. I don't fucking know, man. I have no idea. It might be the worst feud since Triple H took over. Honestly, it would probably have to be because I can't think of a worse feud. There might be. I mean, like Bobby and Brock, when they rekindled that, wasn't really all that great. It had promise, but it kind of ended up being underwhelming. This is worse than that. Nathaniel said Gunther won't lose for a while. I mean, we don't know that, but he shouldn't. I agree. Do I think Punk and Roman match has interference? The more they tease the Uso shit, it might. I don't think it will, and I don't think it should, but it might. We've had enough Mania main events bogged down by bloodline interference. I don't need that again. Fernando said, will we ever see Roman apologize to the Usos? The more Punk brings it up, the better the chances are of that actually happening. I mean, it's been so long since Roman turned face that if it hasn't happened now, it probably won't happen. But, I mean, it should. It definitely should. I mean, it's stupid that he hasn't because it's just, I mean, I know he's an asshole, that's his character, but he really can't complete his character arc until he apologizes. He doesn't have to be out there kissing babies and shit, but like to apologize to his cousins for all the shit that he put them through and they're still following him like he's, you know, their tribal chief basically is just a joke. Did I like the Seth Punk feud or Drew versus Punk? I assume you're asking more, which one I liked more. Drew Punk was better. Seth Punk never really had a proper blow-off. They were both great feuds. Drew Punk was better. I actually ranked that higher in the best Punk feuds I wrote for Bleach Report on Monday. CM Punk's best feuds in WWE, not only since being back, but like in his entire WWE career. I ranked the Drew feud higher than the Rollins one because the Rollins one never really had a proper conclusion. Nathaniel asking, and I've been asking about this every week now for a long time. He said, did I see the new Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer? I did. I finally saw it last night. Thought it was great. It's a great trailer. Spoiler alert for those that haven't seen it yet, but by now you probably would have. You got Punisher in there, Scorpion, which is cool, Hulk, not Hulk himself, but Bruce Banner in Bruce Banner form. Travell Tillman, or whatever his name is, the guy from Severance, made a cameo in there because he's in the movie. I knew that. They didn't show Sadie Sink, which was interesting. I know she's in the movie. I don't know if that was, I'm pretty sure that's been confirmed, but they didn't even show her in the trailer. You don't have to give everything away, but I thought that was cool. Yeah, I really liked the trailer. The part that pissed me off, though, I didn't realize until last night, that the movie comes out over SummerSlam weekend. And why that pisses me off is, if I go to SummerSlam as I have for the last several years, I'm not going to see the movie that weekend. Alexis probably is not going to SummerSlam, and there's other people I want to see that movie with anyway, in addition to Alexis. And I can't do that if I'm at SummerSlam. So I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do. And I usually leave for SummerSlam on the Thursday before, when the movie would come out. And I really don't want to wait until the Tuesday when I come back to see it. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I have no idea. Give Me Back Shot Solomonster said, even Gunther Ilya would feel forced, despite their history. Ilya is on the other brand in a storyline with Melo. You take him away from there. What does Melo do? Not forcing a Trick Melo match so quickly. You're right. It would feel forced. Anything you do with Gunther at this point is forced. What would Melo do? I mean, he would continue hosting open challenges. I know they've been doing the story on SmackDown. That doesn't mean it will culminate in a match. It probably should. It doesn't need to. It's not like they're currently feuding. Melo's kind of giving him pep talks backstage, but they're not necessarily feuding. They've already had a handful of matches. They don't need to have another match. I think they should, given the story they're telling with those two. Melo could just as easily be thrown into a multi-man match for the championship at Mania. Not saying he should be. I'm just saying that I think I could totally see them doing that. You could throw Sammy in there, Trick Williams. Priest is now busy with the tag titles, but Aleister Black is another one. Ilya, if he's not busy. There's a whole bunch of Miz. Miz is probably busy with Jelly Roll, which is kind of crazy, but, yeah. Ilya or Melo, rather, could do something else for the United States Championship. Nathaniel said, I wonder if Sadie Sink will play Jean Grey. That's the leading rumor. I think that would make sense. I know, Jean Grey in a Spider-Man movie, not an X-Men movie. How does that make sense? It could tie into Secret Wars. We don't know. Very possible that ties into Secret Wars, and that's just the introduction of her character. I think that'd be sick. I think she'd be a cool Jean Grey. So we'll see. I like Sadie Sink from... I liked her in The Whale, but I obviously liked her in Stranger Things. So I think her being in Spider-Man is cool, and we'll see what she does. We'll close out with this, though. We'll get going here in a little bit. Want to just briefly talk about Raw from Monday. If you guys have any thoughts, feel free to chime in the comments. Fernando said, I'm sure there's a movie theater around the arena where SummerSlam is going to be, catching an early showing before the event. It's not the problem of seeing the movie. It's the problem of I would like to see the movie with other people. Like, if Alexis doesn't go to SummerSlam, I can't see it with her, and she probably wouldn't see it without me, and then we'd have to fucking wait. So, I don't know. I obviously could see it before SummerSlam. I saw a movie over SummerSlam last year, over SummerSlam weekend. I went to go see I Know What You Did Last Summer, the remake, which was awful, but it was fun. I saw that by myself last year, and it was fun because I was at SummerSlam on my own. So we'll see. Vontel Blitz said, your reaction of Jade retains with the help of B-Fab and Michin. I'm okay with that. Obviously we don't really necessarily want interference in Mania matches, but, B-Fab and Michin becoming the new baddies, I don't necessarily dislike that. I wouldn't mind that really at all. Jade retaining is also the correct outcome. That feels like a SmackDown finish, having them interfere, but, they did the same thing with Damian Priest helping Edge beat AJ Styles at Mania back in 2022 to kind of start the Judgment Day, so I could see it. I wouldn't hate it, depending on how it's done. Mad Dog, what's going on? Saying hello, WrestleRant, Mad Dog. Thank you for joining us. Like I said, we'll close out with
Wrestling
some
fans.
Intro going off there. We'll close off with some Raw thoughts here for Monday night before we head on out in a few minutes. We already kind of talked about it, but the headline for today's video, Oba Femi answering Brock Lesnar's open challenge. Mr. Marceau said himself he enjoyed it. He thought it was great. I share the same sentiments. I thought it was a great segment on Monday. They got us in the first half, I'm not going to lie. It looked like we were getting Rollins and Lesnar at WrestleMania. Thank God that is not the case. I have sub-zero interest in that match. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Femi and Lesnar is the match to do. I know we talked about the report. I talked about it last week here on the show. Brock doesn't want to lose until he retires. First of all, who gives a shit? Second of all, that doesn't mean he will win. They might have a win. They could have Brock absolutely win, and then Femi maybe avenges the loss at SummerSlam, if at all. I could totally see them doing that. I don't want to see them doing that. I have no interest in seeing that. I'm not sure who's beaten Brock that Brock never got that win back from. Anyone who's beaten Brock, I feel like Brock avenged those wins, except for Drew. Drew might be the only one. He might be one of the only people to have beaten Brock that Brock did not get his win back. Like Bobby beat Brock, Cody beat Brock, Rollins beat Brock, but they all got their wins back eventually. Roman obviously has lost to Brock before. Drew never did. In the Rumble in 2022 he did, but that was a Rumble match, not a one-on-one match. But anyway, I would have Femi beat Brock, no doubt. Guy's a star. I thought the execution of the segment was great on Monday. The crowd went nuts. That might have been the peak of their build to the match. I know Brock's on Raw a few different times going into WrestleMania. Now that we know his match, great. They don't have to waste time with like, oh, who's going to answer the open challenge, which is just a waste of time. They got it out of the way on Monday, and I thought it was a very well-executed segment. Will Femi actually win? I'm not convinced. Honestly, I think it's 50-50 as to whether he wins or not. I think there's a very real chance that Femi will lose to Brock and either bounce back at SummerSlam or just not get that win back. But Femi should be world champion. I saw people saying this on Twitter this week. He should absolutely be world champion by either the end of this year or by next year. I mean, I think he's still 27 or 28. He should be among that rare group of people to win a world championship before he's 30. And it's not as many people as you would think. Bray Wyatt was in that conversation, I believe. But before Bray, you'd have to go back a long time, I think, of people who hadn't won the championship until they were at least 30. So it can start with the Brock win. He could beat Brock decisively at Mania. It can be a 5-minute match. It can be a 10-minute match. Hopefully it's just good. It's just funny realizing that Brock, you can tell who Brock likes working with. I did see him say to Oba on Monday, put your foot on me, put your foot on me. I didn't catch it in the moment. I caught it after the fact. But it's funny seeing that sort of shit. Like, he obviously respects and enjoys working with people that are bigger like him and not even necessarily always bigger like him. But you can tell who he likes working with and who he doesn't like working with and who he's willing to do the JOB for and who he's, like, not willing to make it look good at all. So, like, for example, he wanted to work with Oba. He really wanted to work with Drew going into Mania in 2020 because he did the same thing with Drew. Drew also laid out Brock on the stage at one point and I think put his foot on Brock, did Drew, before he pointed to the sign. So we had actually seen that before several years ago, and that was a sign to me that Brock likes working with that person. So he liked working with Drew, now Oba. Obviously Goldberg, they were friends. I think he had a respect for AJ Styles because AJ was just he gave him like one of his best matches in WWE. We know for a fact he liked working with Joe. We've heard that as a fact. Samoa Joe, that is. Roman probably, I mean, they've had so many fucking matches. How could he not like wrestling Roman Reigns? John Cena is obviously a buddy of his from OVW, so he enjoyed working with him. But you can tell who Brock did not like working with. The Bobby Lashley match, he was a bigger guy like Brock. You could tell those two didn't have great chemistry, but he didn't want to work with Bobby Lashley. If he did, that match would have happened well before 2022. He didn't like working with Bobby. He sure as fuck did not like working with Dean Ambrose, based on how underwhelming that match was at WrestleMania in 2016. He didn't like working with Ricochet. That's why that match went 90 seconds at Super Showdown. The Cain Velasquez match was a complete joke at Crown Jewel. Obviously, he liked working with Taker because they had history from back in the day. Cody Rhodes, I think he had a respect for. He probably enjoyed working with Cody. I mean, he endorsed him after SummerSlam was over, and that wasn't in the plan, I don't think, from SummerSlam 2023. So yeah, you can tell who he likes working with, who he doesn't like working with. I think he liked working with Punk in 2013 based on how great that feud and match was. I think Oba's also one of those people, and hopefully that bodes well for him at WrestleMania, and he loses to Oba. Even if he doesn't, which I think is bullshit, hopefully the match is at least decent. And it lives up to the hype because it's one of the few things I'm looking forward to at WrestleMania right now. Also from Raw on Monday, want to mention these last two things. We had a Women's Intercontinental Championship match, which I actually enjoyed. AJ Lee beating Bayley. I thought it was a fun match. They ran it back from their NXT days. Michael Cole mentioned this on commentary. I don't know if the match was for the Divas Championship or not, but AJ Lee went to NXT in 2013 to face a debuting Bayley on that show. And they had a good match then. I remember watching that match. That was around the time I started watching NXT. And I became a Bayley fan. Around that point. And they had a good match, and they got to run it back over 12, 13 years later for the Women's IC Championship on Raw. AJ wins again. Good match. Bayley was never going to win. People were asking me last week here, does Bayley win, or does she get involved in the Mania match? She's not going to be involved in the fucking Mania match with AJ at Mania. I think it was always clear that Bayley and Lyra would challenge for the tag titles, which looks like it will happen. Becky Lynch attacked AJ afterwards, so seemingly that rematch is set for WrestleMania. Becky and AJ make sense. I said that even before Elimination Chamber, you do the first match at Chamber, the rematch at Mania, Becky gets the belt back. If AJ doesn't get the belt back, or Becky doesn't get the belt back, I mean, AJ, I don't know how full-time she is, so I don't know how you get the belt off of her at that point. But Becky and AJ is the way to go. I mean, the feud's been going on for so long now. I'm not overly excited about it, but I think you do that match and give it a stipulation. And then you have Becky get the belt back. And then lastly from Raw, I'll throw back up the chat here in a second, but I mentioned this a little bit on hashtag on Tuesday, but we'll mention it again here just for the sake of getting it on WrestleRant Radio. But the Punk-Roman exchange, I thought was good. I thought it was another entertaining exchange. It was not their best exchange. Not a great exchange. They've definitely had better. It was probably the weakest of the three so far. And the big talking point is CM Punk getting bothered at being called old. When Roman even mentioned his goddamn wife earlier in the promo, and Punk seemingly was not as offended by that, which is pretty stupid. But the overall promo was good. I just hope they didn't peak too early. That was my concern even then. I'm not saying that's the case, because we still have a month to go and some more appearances between the two. It's not like that was the last interaction they'll have. They got to get more physical at some point. They're slowly building to that point, which is good. I just thought that was a weak note to end that exchange on. If he ended with a better line about like Larry or something, I think that segment would have been stronger. And I did see that report. I don't know if it came out before we recorded on Tuesday or afterwards, but there was that report that said the original plan for that segment was for Larry to be mentioned by Roman, and then plans changed. We don't know if Punk had it changed or if they thought that was too soon, too dark, whatever. I don't really think it's fair for them to bring up Roman's dead dad. He didn't die 10 years ago. He died fucking 2 years ago. That's probably still fresh for Roman. But we can't bring up, Larry. And I'm not even saying you need to, but if you're going to bring up Roman's dad, you should probably bring up Larry. I feel like that was fair. That was an equivalent. If you're not going to bring up Larry, then don't bring up the dad. Or don't even go to those lengths. But like, Punk disrespected Roman's dead dad, his deceased father, and Roman was pissed. And he didn't really show that. Like, the idea is that he's playing mind games with Punk. I like that. But Roman wasn't bothered by Punk's comments. But Punk being called old was enough to trigger Punk and for him to punch Roman. I mean, that's just stupid. That's just dumb. It makes Punk look like a baby on television. It makes him look like an insecure Punk. And Roman's an asshole, too. I get that. For a feud between two baby faces, they're both dicks. I get it. But it makes for a great TV. The old thing did not. That was a lame way to end that exchange. But we'll see what else they have up their sleeves, how else they progress this story in the weeks ahead. I liked overall what we got on Monday from those two. Didn't like how the segment ended. But we'll see what else they have in store. They'll be in Boston next week, Madison Square Garden the week after that. As of right now, I will not be at either show. I'm hoping to be at WrestleMania, so I don't really have any desire to go to Boston or the New York City show. I might. If I get invited, I'll probably go. But I haven't been to Raw since November. I went to a bunch of Raws in a few months span. I was at Raw in November at Madison Square Garden, which was a great show. I was at Raw the week before that in Boston, which was also a great show. Two of the best Raws all year. I don't know if I've been to a wrestling show since then. I don't think I have. I don't think I went to any wrestling shows in January. I don't think I went to any wrestling shows in February. And this month, if I don't go to Raw, I'm going to the big event on Saturday. I'll be at the big event. It's a convention coming up here in the Northeast in Long Island on Saturday. I'll be there for that. But the next wrestling show I might go to might be over Mania weekend. We'll see. I was at AEW, like their Christmas weekend shows in December, but that was like 3 months ago. And I've had a nice break from wrestling ever since, which is nice. But anyway, before we wind down here, we'll pull back up the chat, see what you guys are saying. Boom. Hold on. Let's see. Nathaniel said, I don't want Rhea to win. No, I don't. I like Rhea. I don't think Rhea should win the WWE Women's Championship. My personal opinion, I would not have Rhea win the title at this point. I just don't think that makes sense. Mad Dog said he's a Kit Wilson fan, and AJ will win. She is going to beat Becky. I don't know about that. AJ's gotten the better of Becky at every single turn, so she probably should beat AJ at some point. You can't have her look completely incompetent. She has to beat AJ at some point, at least even once. I like Kit Wilson. I wouldn't really necessarily do that match at Mania. That kind of feels like a waste of time, to be honest with you, with Jelly Roll. And that match at SummerSlam was good. I don't mind Jelly Roll, but like you're giving him a Mania match over like, I'm not even talking about like fucking Otis or something. I'm talking about someone who should be on the card, like a Gunther or a Rollins or especially LA Knight or IYO SKY. That would not be a great look if any of those people are on the show, or at least if one of those people was not on the show, but Jelly Roll was. And Danhausen's been very entertaining. Him being on the card, whatever. I think, he doesn't have to wrestle. He can just do something else backstage or host the show or whatever the fuck. But like Miz getting a Mania match before any of those other people, kind of a problem, even if it's like an attraction novelty match. And we'll close out with Nick here. Nick, what's going on, brother? He said, like the stream people, boost the ratings. Hey, listen to Nick. The guy's not wrong. Like the video on your way out would be greatly appreciated, whether you're watching now, live, or after the fact. Very much appreciated. And I did see the Spider-Man trailer, Nick. Nick was texting us about it yesterday. I mentioned this earlier. Loved the trailer. Thought it was great. Excited to see the movie this summer. Nathaniel, random question to close out here. Would you want Jenna Ortega to return in Scream 8? I mean, I think that would make the movie better. I didn't really like Scream 7. I thought it was fine. I thought the movie was decent. Not as good as the New York one. I thought it was better than Scream 5? Yeah, 5. I thought 5 was stupid. I thought 5 was a bad movie. Is Danhausen never going to wrestle? I think he will wrestle eventually. They'll probably build up to him having a match. I mean, listen, if you're a Danhausen fan or you know anything about Danhausen, the best part about Danhausen is not his matches. That's not to say he's a bad wrestler, but he is perfectly average, meaning that it's not as if he's this fucking grand... It's not like Orange Cassidy. When they built up Orange Cassidy's first match to be this big deal, and then it actually delivered because the guy was good in the ring, Danhausen is not Orange Cassidy in the ring. So... he probably will wrestle eventually, I think, but it's smart, though, to relegate him instead to backstage segments. They can't keep doing the same thing every week, but him cursing people, I liked what they did with Grayson Waller and Kofi on Monday with Danhausen. I thought that was entertaining. Grayson Waller telling Danhausen to watch the product Bootios were 10 years ago. I thought that was fucking funny. But yeah, we'll see how it turns out with Danhausen and what they have in store for him at WrestleMania. In addition to everyone else, Gunther, LA Knight, Rollins, IYO SKY, everyone else, Carmelo Hayes, Penta. What will these people, if anything, be doing at WrestleMania? We still don't know. And with WrestleMania being less than a month away, I think it's exactly 1 month from today, April 18th and 19th, I want to say. I think those are the dates of WrestleMania this year. We will find out in due time. And they got to start building up that card. They have the main attraction set, which is nice for the women's titles and the men's titles. But they got to start filling out that mid-card and giving us a better idea of what we can expect at the show of shows. All right, guys, we're going to get going here in a second. I want to shout out one more time our channel members, Alexis, Miss Mod Matthews, Donald the Giacomo, Mrs. Renee, Daniel Malcolm, at I'm Quarter on X, DJ Swerve1, at Swerve1 on IG, Mr. Marceau himself, at RJ_Marceau on X, John Ritland, Real Honesty with John Ritland on YouTube, Richie Red Planet Wrestling on YouTube, and Average Grunt at gruntwrestling.bluesky.social on Blue Sky. More information and how to become a WrestleRant All Access Pass channel member down below in the description box. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, turn on notifications to be notified every time we're live here on the channel on Tuesdays and Thursdays typically, and every time we upload new content, pretty much every single day, most days here on the channel. Also be sure to remember that new episodes of WrestleRant Radio drop every single Thursday. Here first via video on YouTube, youtube.com/WrestleRant. But also you can check out the audio version of the podcast out soon after on WrestleRant.com, WrestleRantRadio.com, and all major podcast platforms. Thank you, Nathaniel, for joining us. Thank you to everyone in the chat for joining us very early here on a Thursday morning, getting the show out of the way early. Mad Dog, he says he's new here. Mad Dog, thank you for joining. We appreciate the comments, appreciate the feedback. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for subscribing and watching the videos. It's very much appreciated. Be sure to like the video on your way out. Like I said, if you haven't already, it would very much help the algorithm and whatnot. It helps a lot. So, at any rate, folks, we'll be back here next Thursday on WrestleRant Radio. Time TBD per usual. Could be first thing Thursday morning. Could be Thursday at noon. Could be Thursday at 11 a.m. Could be Thursday in the afternoon. You just never know when the show is going to go live. So you got to stay notified by turning on notifications, and you'll be notified when we are live here on the channel. All right, folks, I'm going to get on out of here. Thank you again for tuning in. Before we're live again on WrestleRant Radio next Thursday, I will be here on Tuesday for #AskGSM. We'll be answering your questions then. Plenty of other content going up here on the channel in the meantime, so be sure to stay subscribed and check out that other content as well. Until next time, folks, I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Have an awesome rest of your week. Enjoy spring starting tomorrow, and I'll catch your ass down the road. Peace.
Join Graham GSM Matthews and RJ Marceau every Thursday as they run down their weekly wrestling rants, offer expert analysis, host exclusive interviews, and more. Subscribe today on all your favorite podcast platforms and never miss an episode of WrestleRant Radio.